For today's video, I present to you 7 UFC prospects who I think could be a major problem within their respective divisions this year. Some of these are on the verge of breaking into the top 10, some are merely beginning their UFC run, but I do think that each of these 7 fighters are well worth keeping your eye on over the course of the next 365 days or so. So let's get into it. Ilia Topuria. Ilia Topuria holds the distinction of being the first and only man to defeat Ryan Hall in the UFC, knocking him out brutally in the opening round of their UFC 264 matchup. And while sure, that made the Ryan Hall fan in me quite upset, watching Topuria enter the bout as the betting favourite over a guy as tricky as the BJJ wizard that is Ryan Hall was enough to pique my interest, bringing his own wealth of jiu-jitsu talents to the table, along with some truly impressive athleticism and power, even in a division as packed with talented prospects as 145 pounds is right now. I do have a very strong feeling that Topuria may well prove to be the best of the lot. Garry. Up next is my fellow Irishman Ian Garry, a man who, despite encountering some difficulty in his UFC debut, should not in my eyes be written off to any real degree. I've been watching this guy amassing highlight reel finishes for years now under the Cage Warriors banner, and watched as he took on some pretty stiff competition on his way to winning the company's welterweight title. Look, to go from regional fighting to debuting at Madison Square Garden is no easy step up, and while he did get tagged early on, Garry's pinpoint accuracy allowed him to warm into the contest and eventually score a first round knockout. A poised, dynamic and well-rounded fighter, I expect this young man to prove a lot of his early doubters wrong when he returns against Darian Weeks at UFC 273. Get beyond the Conor McGregor comparisons. Ian Garry is a man with his own path, and my own personal bias aside, I do have a strong feeling that he's going to become something special. Erin Blanchfield. If I could describe UFC flyweight Erin Blanchfield's last victory in one word, I would probably go for relentless. She managed to make a fan of me by putting an extraordinary pace on the very talented Miranda Maverick, beating her soundly over the course of 3 rounds to stake her claim at being the single most exciting prospect at 125 pounds right now. Again, Maverick is a fine prospect in her own right, but even at the young age of 22, Blanchfield showed a level of composure far beyond her years. Indeed, finding fresh blood for the dominant champion Valentina Shevchenko has been proving to be increasingly difficult. Such is the depth of her talent. But for my money, Erin Blanchfield seems to have that it factor, something that may well blossom into some very real danger by the time she reaches the division's upper levels. Trust me, keep an eye on her, folks. Yadong. 25 career fights at the age of just 24 is certainly a record worth writing home about. And in the case of China's Yadong, the bantamweight division has a very interesting young prospect on their hands. With a UFC record of 7 wins, 1 narrow decision loss, and 1 draw, Yadong has been slowly carving out a reputation as one of China's greatest MMA exports in years. Faced with the task of climbing into the top 10 of perhaps the best division in the sport, I think I've seen enough improvements from Yadong along the way to make me think that he will be one hell of a fighter. Extremely fast and powerful, and with an ever-improving ground game, thanks to his work with Uriah Faber's Team Alpha Male, his upcoming showdown with Marlon Moraes in March could well serve as a major breakout for this undeniable bantamweight talent. With time well and truly on his side, and all of the necessary attributes to be a real hit, Yadong is definitely someone I could see reaching another level entirely before 2022 is out. On a quick side note, if you're enjoying this content and would like to keep up to date with all of our weekly uploads, be sure to subscribe to the channel now to keep MMA Dive in pole position in any list of MMA YouTube prospects that are set to take over in 2022. Also, we recently set up a Patreon account, so if you do want to help support the channel, the link is in the description. Jack Shore. I've been high on Jack Shore for years now, with him being another prospect that I watched coming through Cage Warriors. Once offered the chance to debut in the UFC years before his actual signing, Shore opted to reject the call at that point in time, confident that his progression would lead him there eventually. Now at 27, his rise through the bantamweight division has been similarly patient, and though he is still waiting on a ranked opponent, his 4-0 run in the promotion has led him to a matchup against Timur Valiev, a fight that will surely see the winner advance into that stacked top 15. His striking is improving with each passing bout, but once the fight hits the mat, that is where his prowess begins to shine through. Unbeaten across 15 fights, as difficult as it may prove to crack into that 135-pound upper tier, Jack Shore at 27 does appear to be hitting his prime, and if I had to guess, I would have to say that 2022 is going to be a big year for him. Mohamed Mokaev. I'm in the middle of doing a lengthy feature on Mohamed Mokaev before he makes his UFC debut, the first in a series of prospect videos we'll be diving into this year. And trust me, kicking things off with this flyweight and sometimes bantamweight prospect is a fitting way to get into it. With a stellar 23-0 amateur record and a 5-0 professional run so far, Mokaev fights out of England but was born and raised in Dagestan up to the age of 12. And trust me when I tell you that he is one of the finest prospects to come out of Europe in quite some time. He's experienced, well-rounded, and at 21 years old, he is also one of the younger fighters on the roster. So when his March debut comes around, you're going to see exactly how good this guy is, no matter where the fight is taking place. Shavkat Rakhmonov. And finally, we come to my own personal favourite, Shavkat Rakhmonov, a fighter who a lot of you are no doubt aware of now, after his masterful spinning hook kick finish of Carlston Harris last time around. This dude is measured, methodical, but also incredibly swift in his ability to take a fight by the scruff of its neck and find the finish. In his unbeaten 15-fight career, Shavkat has scored all finishes, with only one fight going past the second round. And believe me, it's not a case of him being this quick-starting, reckless athlete who forces his way into the fight's conclusion. So far in his career, Rakhmonov has managed to get it done time and time again, always looking like he is merely warming into the fight, before he eventually causes a drastic momentum switch. Between Rakhmonov and Khamzat Chimaev, the UFC's welterweight division may well have the two finest rising contenders in the sport, and though Shavkat is certainly a bit behind Chimaev in terms of his own climb, in my eyes, there is every chance that he will find his way right into that title mix before too long. But who do you think is the best prospect in the UFC right now? The fighter you could see making the biggest splash of all before 2023 rolls around? Do let us know your opinions in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and a comment before subscribing to the channel so you can stay up to date with all of our latest uploads. Thank you for watching.